Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Monday. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. Democratic Governor Steve Bullock jumps into the race for the U.S. Senate to challenge Republican Steve Daines.
This move throws a huge wrench into Montana's political landscape, changing the race and its potential impact on the country. As
MTN's Mike Dennison reports, Bullock's entry at this point wasn't a total surprise.
As you've probably heard, Governor Bullock entered the U.S. Senate race at 6 a.m. this morning. It makes our Senate race one of the most watched, most expensive Senate races in the country. Governor Bullock made it official Monday shortly after noon as he and his family strolled down the Capitol hallway from his office to the Secretary of State office, where he paid his $1,740 filing fee to become a candidate for the U.S. Senate. Afterwards, he told reporters that the nation needs a bipartisan common sense approach to tackling the big problems of the day, just like he's tried to take in Montana.
You look at some of the big challenges that we're facing, and they won't even tackle them. I think what I can bring is the experience of being governor of a state and actually having to listen to and work with people all across the state, and also work with people that we may not see the world eye to eye.
Bullock had spent months saying he wouldn't take the plunge to challenge Republican Senator Steve Daines. But he and his wife, Lisa, said it was a family decision to change course.
We felt as a family that there is something that is bigger and greater than the five of us need right now. We met as a family and asked kids for their input, which we took to heart. And we just made the decision as a family that at this time it's better to jump in and run and see what we can contribute. Not only for our state, but for our country.
Bullock kicked off his campaign at 6 a.m. Monday with a press release and video touting his accomplishments as governor. And within minutes, Montana was getting a flavor of what's in store. The National Republican Senatorial Committee released a blistering attack, saying Bullock wants to ban guns, impeach President Trump, and ignore illegal immigration. And a left-leaning group, Progressive Turnout Project, announced it would be sinking $750,000 into the race, hiring 26 field staffers in Montana to work toward Bullock's election. Montana State University political science professor David Parker told MTN News that it's just the beginning of what will be an epic battle.
If you look at all the people around the country that put money into races, so these are big donors, these are outside organizations, they're far more willing to take a look at the Montana race and decide, you know what, maybe we can put some money and invest in this race. Whereas before, that was going to be a lot less likely because none of the challenges had quite the reach or popularity that Steve Bullock does.
Republicans currently hold a 53-47 majority in the U.S. Senate. With Bullock's entry into the race, Democrats now have 5 seats they believe are possible flips that could give them the majority. But Bullock is far from a shoo-in for victory.
I think the first thing most of the viewers need to understand is that the advantage always goes to the incumbent, no matter how well qualified the challenger is. So I would still probably at the moment move the seat from a solid Republican seat to a lean Republican seat.
Daines and fellow Republicans have been preparing for many months for a possible Bullock run. And Senator Daines made it clear on Monday that he won't be backing down from the challenge.
This is the most consequential election in my lifetime. We're going to decide the next president of the United States. We'll decide who leads the United States Senate and thereby the future of the United States Supreme Court. This is a big deal for Montana. It's a big deal for our country. And I've always been consistent fighting for more jobs and less government and defending our Montana way of life.
There are other candidates in this race, Democrats, Republicans, a Green, and a Libertarian. 2 Democrats did drop out of the race Monday, but as we all know, the real race is Steve versus Steve, Bullock versus Daines, 2 of the top political figures in the state, with the control of the U.S. Senate hanging in the balance. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike. And of course, MTN News will bring you the full coverage of this important race and a full slate of Montana elections.
Well, we also have more reaction from Senator Steve Daines tonight, who now more than likely will be in for a much tougher race this fall. I talked to Senator Daines live via satellite from the nation's capital this afternoon. Obviously, this race is going to get a lot of attention. It already is. There's going to be a lot of money thrown at it from both sides. Does Governor Bullock's announcement change your strategy at all, having him as your opponent?
It really doesn't. We always knew we'd have a contrast kind of race. The governor getting the race clearly presents that for the people of Montana. We'll have two very different views for the future of this country. The one thing that's very different is I've demonstrated my voting record back in Washington, D.C. Montanans can trust me on these very important issues I described: more jobs, less government, and defending our Montana way of life.
You have stood behind President Trump time and time again. Will he be here to help you campaign?
I spoke with the president last week. He can't wait to get back to Montana. He loves our state. He stands with me. I stand with him in 2020. I look forward to a visit or maybe a couple from the President of the United States.
Well, Daines also talked about coronavirus concerns and the falling stock market. You can see this entire interview right now on our website, KTVQ.com.
Energy prices and coronavirus led to the worst point drop on Wall Street in more than a decade. The market was down more than 7%. Trading temporarily stopped to take a break and gather thoughts. And after a 15-minute delay, trading resumed, with the Dow finishing the day down another 2,000 points. The oil price dropped today, had its sharpest decline since the Persian Gulf War in 1991. Financial markets have been a roller coaster ride for weeks now, with uncertainty about the coronavirus economic impact.
To put it in perspective, we're now down about 19% on all three of the major averages from just a month ago, the high. To put it further perspective, 15 months ago, in December of 18, we were also down 19%. Markets do come back, that one did, and the S&P is now up 14% from that bottom. Well, it's hard to find good news, but there is some. One is mortgage rates are reaching an all-time low, getting close to 3% on the 30-year. Mortgage bankers were as busy as they've ever been today. In fact, they've had a hard time keeping up with refinancing and new mortgages for housing. So for certain parts of housing, that's good. Gas prices, although they can hurt business, it will be very good for the consumer in terms of lower gas prices.
And Buchanan also says keep your seatbelt buckled because there is more volatility ahead.
Well, as of today, the Center for Disease Control is reporting 423 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in America, also known as the coronavirus. 19 deaths across 35 states have been attributed to that virus that is brand new to doctors.
There have been no confirmed cases here in Montana, but local health leaders briefed Yellowstone County commissioners today as public areas like the library and the YMCA get some extra cleaning. Q2's Mitch Laggy brings us that story.
At a Yellowstone County Commissioners meeting Monday, Riverstone Health CEO John Felton gave an update on COVID-19. He said local health officials are prepared if and when the virus turns up in Montana. Hospitals are taking inventory of personal protective equipment like masks and rubber gloves for medical staff. Local hospitals are ready to dip into national stockpiles if necessary.
With everyone becoming more aware of how to protect themselves from COVID-19, these sanitizing wipes are becoming more and more common at home and in the workplace. But are you using them correctly? Experts say that you should not just wipe and wipe and wipe until the alcohol evaporates away. Instead, what you should do is use enough sanitizing wipes so that your entire surface stays wet for up to 4 minutes. And another tip, do not use these things to sanitize your hands.
There's a lot of good people working very hard on the problem.
The city of Billings is part of the Unified Health Command, all working to stop COVID-19 spread across Montana. They include local health leaders and Yellowstone County officials. City facilities like the airport, library, and city buses are all getting a deep clean.
The city is being proactive in developing protocols for this serious time, including the cleaning procedures, but also potentially events that would have to be canceled, or social distancing, as they're now calling it, how to just keep people safe.
And over at the Billings YMCA, staff already ramp up cleaning because of the regular cold and flu season. But with hundreds of people passing through the doors every day, staff are communicating the need for cleanliness.
Asking our members to please continue to help wipe down equipment. Of course, wash your hands, cover your mouth. If you have any of the symptoms of any kind of a sickness or virus, please stay home.
All solid advice that still applies, COVID-19 outbreak or not. In Billings, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
If you have more questions about COVID-19, officials say to head to the correct resources.
And the websites for riverstonehealth.org and cdc.gov are updated regularly with the latest prevention measures.
Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire joining us now. Pretty nice day, but there are some watches and warnings out there tonight, Bob.
I'm afraid so. The fretboard's starting to fill up. Let me show you. Here's what's happening out there. As you can see, we've got a few colors on the fretboard. Let's start off up here by Great Falls. That one there, that is a high wind watch. Starts tomorrow night, goes through Wednesday morning. Winds gusting to 60 miles per hour, basically on the Rocky Mountain front and just on the eastern side of the divide up in that area. Plus, let's go over to northeastern Montana. We've had this for a few days now. Phillips Valley and now Sheridan County, they have the small stream flood advisory. A lot of the runoff from the snow melt is really causing the creeks, rivers, and streams to rise pretty high, so they're all threatening to go out of their banks. And we also have this tonight as well. Winter weather advisory in the Beartooth foothills until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, looking for 1 to 4 inches of snow in that area. And as you can see on the Doppler radar, the snow is flying there, and it looks like some of that stuff's getting ready to move into the Billings area. In fact, Billings does have a chance of snow tonight. We'll have more on that in a few more minutes.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
Well, the Alberta Bear Theatre is moving closer to reaching its fundraising goal for its renovation and expansion project.
Alberta Bear has been closed since last April for the big makeover. Today it was announced that the theater has been awarded a $500,000 grant from the M.J. Murdoch Charitable Trust, putting it just $600,000 short of the $13.6 million fundraising goal.
Congratulations. Now, the renovations will include a number of new features, including better sound equipment, as well as new ticket offices, restrooms, and a long-awaited elevator. And the theater is set to reopen this fall.
Pretty exciting. Well, still to come on the 10 o'clock news, some of Montana's best handiwork, and 2,400 Montanans calling Helena home this weekend. We're going to tell you why.
And in sports, the Bobcat women grab a handful of postseason awards. Scott tells us how many and who they'll play tomorrow.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.